We've given a quick overview of what are we expecting, but in terms of the election itself, what are you thinking, Matt? So where do you think this election will take us? And do you really think that one winner over the other will have a consequential impact on crypto, or how are you viewing this event that we're all preparing our popcorn for?
Yeah, I think no matter who wins, it's going to be a good thing for crypto. We've seen some of the policy choices from both Kamala and Trump, and they're both going to be increasing government spending. And as we've seen, Bitcoin is heavily correlated to the global and to it's not just good governments printing and spending more money in general. It should be a good thing for Bitcoin, no matter who wins. Looking at some of the data points that we have, right? On the left-hand side, we have the election odds between Trump and Harris on Polymarket and on Kalshi. On the right-hand side, it's Bitcoin's price. And within the last couple of weeks, we've seen Bitcoin kind of move in line with the chances of Trump winning. So as you see, Polymarket and Kalshi, they've converged in terms of odds. If you look at September, if you look back at August, they were more divergent. Now they've come a lot closer together, and we've seen Bitcoin has a strong correlation to both Trump's odds and Kamala's odds, favoring Trump's odds of winning. The correlation right now is like 0.89, which is a very strong correlation. But one thing to be noted is that these prediction markets can be manipulated. It's best not to take these as gospel. Like as an example, if a large whale was to move tens of millions of dollars into one of these prediction markets, favoring one side or the other, that may signal to some other investors like, hey, my chances of making money would increase if I invest on that side. So that might sway investors to invest into one side of the table over in the other side. So that's one thing we should always keep in mind with making our investment decisions, is that these prediction markets can be manipulated, and not only prediction markets, but like model and polls are not always 100% accurate. And we've seen that in the past.
Yeah, I think we can. Next slide, Lena.
Sorry, there's an alarm going off in here.
It's all good. Yeah, you were saying that we've already seen the evidence of the polls just being completely off the mark.
Correct. Yeah. When making your investment decision, yeah, Polymarket is a good data point to look at, but it's not the only one, right? There is the Nate Silver election model, which is actually showing the odds of Kamala winning higher than Trump winning, although it's still closer to 50-50. Nate Silver's model is slightly favoring Harris. So that's one thing that should be kept in mind. You should always look at multiple data sources and data points when making an investment decision. And then on top of that, going back to 2016 between Hillary Clinton and Trump, Hillary Clinton was heavily the favorite to win, right? The odds of Hillary, looking at different models, the majority of the models had Hillary Clinton winning by a far higher margin than Trump. The one in front of us right now, we see 71-21, heavily favoring Hillary Clinton. And as we saw, that isn't what ended up happening. Trump actually ended up winning, and a lot of that is due to these key swing states. So in this current election cycle, the current election year, the key swing states to keep an eye on are Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona. And if we look at some of the polling that's been done in these states, it's very 50-50. So these key states are going to ultimately decide who ends up winning. And right now, it's even with the election being a week away, it's basically a coin toss in the majority of these states. So it's still too early to say one president or one candidate will for sure win over the other candidate. And I think something to keep in mind is that crypto and Bitcoin, they ultimately do not favor one side over the other, right? They are a macro asset and they are a technology. And although Trump has had favorable things to say about crypto, such as if he wins, the U.S. government will not sell any more of their Bitcoin holdings, as well as he has supported various different crypto projects and DeFi projects, such as the DeFi project that his family is supporting. But Kamala has also had some favorable things to say about crypto for the last couple of months. She's come out and said that if she wins, she will ensure that there is clear and concise regulation of the digital asset industry in the US. and she's been traditionally pro tech. She comes from San Francisco. She has close ties to a lot of the executives at these different firms and technology companies in San Francisco. So she's always supported tech. So we should definitely keep that in mind, that there is no favorite here, and Bitcoin is a macro asset, and we've seen that, right? So if we go to the next slide, looking back at 2016 and 2020, although Trump, he did win the 2016 election cycle, and we see that the average, so just going to these charts are displaying the monthly return of Bitcoin, and they're looking at election years. So 2016, although Trump did win that year, Hillary Clinton was the favorite to win. And we see that despite that fact, we still had a positive return. So with a Democratic candidate more likely to win, or at least that's what the market was predicting, we still saw that Bitcoin had a positive monthly average return for that month and for the year. And then looking at 2020, it was a lot closer. It was more 50-50 between Joe Biden and Trump. And we still saw Bitcoin perform very well. So no matter who wins, Republican or Democrat, there's likely going to be large government spending. And because of this, we've seen Bitcoin do relatively well during these election years. And another thing to keep in mind is that election years align with the Bitcoin halving. So every single election year, there will be a Bitcoin halving. So that's one thing to keep in mind when looking at these results here. But I think this clearly shows that Bitcoin does not favor one candidate over another candidate. And it is a macro asset that is heavily correlated to the global M2 money supply. And I think the worst case scenario here is not one candidate winning over the other candidate. It is a uncertain outcome. We saw that in 2000 with the George Bush versus, I believe it was Al Gore. The election was so close, it was like 20K votes that had separated it. I think that would be the worst case scenario, is if we don't know who the clear winner is, and this is taken up to various courts and it's debated for weeks and weeks at end, we will see Bitcoin and the global crypto markets react heavily. They'll be very volatile during this time period. And there are a couple of other key elections that should be kept in mind, such as like Congress and such. Two main ones are the race for senator in Massachusetts, who is currently Elizabeth Warren, as well as the candidate for senator inside of Ohio, which is currently Senator Brown. Both Senator Brown and Senator Warren are seen as being anti-crypto. So those are also some key elections that we should keep in mind. And now I'll pass over to Kareem to innovations in